Hi students, myself Shivshankar and I am going to take a class on animal kingdom. So before going to before going to study about the animal kingdom, we will little bit study about the R.H. Whitaker. I hope all of you know the name R.H. Whitaker. R.H. Whitaker. He is the scientist who discovered the five kingdoms. Those are five kingdoms are first one is then Monera and then Protista and then fungi, then plantae, then the last one is an animal. So the R.H. Whitaker is the person who discovered the five kingdoms of classification. So here Monera. First we will study about the phylum Monera. This Monera is an unicellular organism. Unicellular organism. Monera is an unicellular organism. Why these are unicellular organism means? Because in this, for example, you take this is a cell. In these cells, there are absence of a cell organelles. Only the chromosomes are present. There is no cell organelles. Cell organelles are absent. And once again, these all are prokaryotes. 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 These Monera are belongs to the prokaryotes. Pro means what? Pro means before, old age. These all are about the prokaryotes, Monera, prokaryotes. And then remaining these four all are eukaryotes. These all are eukaryotes. So eukaryotes. And here these three are belongs to the multicellular organisms. These all belongs to the multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms. And this Protista, phylum Protista. In this phylum, in this Protista, it contains the organisms contains only unicellular organisms. The cell organelles are present, but they are not attached. They are not attached. That's why these all are called as eukaryotic unicellular. Unicellular. Here in this phylum, the cell organelles are present, but they are not attached. That's why these all are unicellular, eukaryotic, unicellular, eukaryotic, unicellular. But the fungi, plantae, and animalia are the multicellular organisms. So we will study about in this chapter. We are going to study about the only animalia. We will study about the kingdom Animalia, right? So in this Animalia, these Animalia are the multicellular organisms. These multicellular organisms, how they are going to work or how the system of the organism is going to work means. Before going to study about that, we will study about some basic classification of Animalia. So the basic classification. Basic classification. Here, all the organisms have a different type of structures at two, but they have a same structure, same cellular organism. Some of them have a same cellular organization. They are different in a structures, but they are same in a cellular organization. Different in structure, at two similar in cell organization. So here we are going to study about the four type of organization. First one is a cellular level of organization. First one is a cellular level of organization. Cellular level of organization. Then second one is a tissue level of organization. Tissue level of organization. And then third one is an organ level of organization. And then last one is an organ system level of organization. Organ system level of organization. So these are the four organizations which we are going to study right now. So students, we will study one by one these organizations. So first we will start with the cellular level of organization. So in this cellular level of organization, for example, you take the sponges. In sponges, how these cells are arranged means these cells are arranged very loosely. The cells are arranged very loosely, and in these cells, these cells, how they are arranged, they are distributed, labelly distributed. They are labelly distributed. That's why this is called as a cellular level of organization. Hence, these all are called cellular level of organization. Then next one is tissue level of organization. Next one is the tissue level of organization. This cellular level of organization is going to be visible or going to be seen in only sponges. This tissue level of organization is going to be seen in ciliates. Tissue level of organization is going to be seen in ciliates. What happens in this organization means a group of cells. For example, these are the group of cells. This group of cells which are performing the same functions, these are going to become a tissue. A group of cells performing the same function is called tissue level of organism. Group of cells which perform similar functions. That one is going to be called as a tissue level of organization. Tissue level of organization. Then organ level of organization. Third one is organ level of organization. Organ level of organization. In this organization, a group of tissue performing a similar functions which is going to be form an organ. For example, this one is a tissue and this one is another tissue. When these both tissues are T1, T2, these, for example, these are the two tissues. These two tissues are going to perform a similar function, and they join together and become an organ. For example, this one is XYZ, kidney is an organ. If both tissues are performing the same functions, then these both tissues will join and it is going to become an organ called as, this type of organization is called as a organ level of organization. So here organ level of organization, a group of tissue performing same functions, performing same functions, a group of tissue which are performing same functions, which is going to be form a organ, form an organ, and this type of organization is called as an organ level of organization. Then another last one is an organ system level of organization. Organ system level of organization. In this organization, several organ system level of organization. Organ system level of organization. So what happens here? A group of organs which are all involved in a particular one system function. For example, you may take a digestive system. In a digestive system, there are several organs are involved to perform a digestive system. So that type of organization is called as an organ level of organization. So here in this organ system level of organization, several organs are involved to perform a particular one function. For example, in digestive system you take digestive system. In this digestive system there are several organs are involved. For example, you take tongue and then mouth and teeth, then esophagus and stomach and so on. So these all are involved in the digestive system. So here the group of organs which are involved in the same function or similar systemic function, that is going to be called as an organ system level of organization. In Platyhelminths, in phylum Platyhelminths, it has a placon or flacon. In phylum Platyhelminths, it has only single opening, which food is going to be inside from that opening and it is going to outside from that only single opening. It has an only single opening. That type of digestive system is called as an incomplete digestive system. A single opening. It has a Platyhelminths has single opening. And this single opening is called as our incomplete digestive system. Incomplete digestive system. If, for example, which has two openings, one is a mouth and another one is an anus. A food is go inside from the mouth and outside through the anus. That is called as a complete digestive system. Complete digestive system. In these two openings, one is a mouth and another one is an anus. From this mouth, food is going to be inside and the anus, through the anus, food outside. So this similar to the like this. Similarly, a circulatory system also has a two type of system. Circulatory system also has a two type. One is an open type of circulatory system, and then another one is a closed type of circulatory system. Right? I hope all of you are getting my points clearly. So now we will study about the circulatory system. In digestive system, see, once again I am going to repeat. In digestive system there are two type of digestive system. One is an incomplete digestive system and another one is a complete digestive system. In this incomplete digestive system, an organism which has only a single opening, that is going to be called as an incomplete digestive system. And the organism which has two openings, one is a mouth and another one is an anus. From the mouth, the food is going to be inside, and through the anus, the food is going to be outside. So this is called as a complete digestive system. Similarly, a circulatory system also has a two type of circulatory system. One is a closed type of circulatory system and another one is an open type of circulatory system. Right. Circulatory system. It has two types. One is an open type of circulation, and then closed type of circulation. Closed type. Here in open type of circulation, what happens? The blood is directly pumped to the body without the help of any veins. That directly it flows into the body. Blood directly flows inside the body without the help of any veins. In this open type of circulatory system, the veins are absent. So that's why the blood is directly going to flow into the body. For example, you take, just imagine through the pipe, water is flowing directly into the river. This is about the example for closed type of. And when it rains, the water is directly filling the river. When it rains, for example, it is raining and here the rivers are. The water is directly mixing with the water of the river. So this is about open type of circulation. Here there is no any pipeline connection. But here the inner closed type of circulatory system, the blood is circulated with the help of veins. So this is closed type of circulatory system. I hope everyone is getting. Then next one is a symmetry. Based on symmetry, we are going to classify the animals. Based on, now we just studied about the level of organization. Based on this cellular level of organization, we are going to classify the animals. And another one is now the symmetry. On the basis of symmetry, we are going to classify the organisms. So we will study about those symmetry. Based on symmetry. Based on symmetry also, we are going to classify the animals. So students, symmetry. In the symmetry, there are three types of symmetries. One is asymmetrical symmetry, and then another is a radial symmetry, and then third one is a bilateral symmetry. See, first we will go for the asymmetrical symmetry. In this type of symmetry, the organisms are not going to be cut equal to halves. You just try to cut the organism in any plane, it is not going to cut it in two equal identical halves. For example, you take amoeba. If the amoeba, for example, this is an amoeba. If I am going to cut this amoeba into equal halves, it's not possible to cut it into two equal identical halves. So this is called as an asymmetrical. The organism is not going to be cut or into two equal identical halves. no two identical equal halves. Equal half. That's why this is called as an asymmetrical symmetry. You just try to cut the organism in any plane. It is not possible to make into two identical equal halves. That's why it is called as an asymmetrical symmetry. And then second one is the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry. In this organism, for example, you take octopus. The organism is cut into two equal halves from any plane after. From any plane, in any plane, we are able to cut the organism into two equal identical halves. From any plane, the organism from any plane we get two equal identical halves. Two equal identical halves. This is called as a radial symmetry. For example, just see here. For example, this is an organism. You cut it from a longitudinal, it becomes two equal identical. From this side, it will become into two equal identical. From this, however you may going to cut the organism, it will be into two equal identical halves. It is going to form two equal identical halves. This type of symmetry is called as a radial symmetry. Now the bilateral symmetry. In this bilateral symmetry, the organism is only possible when the organism is going to become a two equal identical halves only when we cut it in from the longitudinal axis. When the organism is cut from the longitudinal axis, for example, imagine this is an organism, only from this axis. From this axis, the organism is going to become into two equal identical halves. For example, you take human beings. The human beings, if we make a longitudinal axis, then we are going to form into two equal identical halves. If we have transverse, if we from like this transverse section, then it is not possible to become two equal identical halves. For example, human beings. Human being is an example for bilateral symmetry. From a longitudinal axis. From longitudinal axis, the organism is becoming a two equal identical halves. Only from longitudinal axis, remember that. In this bilateral symmetry, the organism is becoming two equal identical halves only when we cut it from a longitudinal axis. At that time, we will get it two equal halves. In this radial symmetry, we are able to cut it from any plane. If we cut from like this, if from any plane of the organism, we will get two identical halves. This is about the radial symmetry. Then coelomate. Adult echinoderms are example for the radial symmetry, and the larval are the example for the larva echinoderms are example for the bilateral symmetry. Remember that. So students, coelom. Now we will study about the coelom. Coelom is nothing but a body cavity. A body cavity is called as coelom. Body cavity. Body cavity refers to the coelom. Here there are three types of coeloms are present, and the organisms which possess a body cavity, those are called as coelomates. The body cavity. The organisms which possess body cavity, the organisms body cavity are called what? Are called coelomates. Coelomates. Say here there are three types. First one is an acoelomates. Acoelomates. Then second one is an pseudocoelomates. Pseudocoelomates. Then third one is a coelomates. The organisms which possess a body cavity are called what? Coelomates. Body cavity presence. Body cavity present. That type of organisms are called what? Coelomates. In this pseudocoelomates, there are a body cavity is false. The body cavity is a false. True, there is no true body cavity. The false body cavity present. False body cavity. That one is ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoglium. There are three layers: ectoderm, endoderm, and so here the body cavity is absent or false. And then last one is acoelomates. Acoelomates, these animals don't have any body cavity. Absence of a body cavity. Absence of a body cavity. Absence of a body cavity is called acoelomates. Right. So now we will study about again then diploblastic and triploblastic. We will diploblastic and triploblastic. On the basis of this, we are going to classify the animals. So these are characters on which we are going to classify the animals. If the organisms are coelomates or pseudocoelomates or acoelomates. See, a simple funda is there. Coelomates are nothing but a body cavity present, and pseudocoelomates are false body cavity present, and acoelomates are absence of a body cavity. These are called acoelomates. And coelom is a body cavity. Body cavity is called as a coelom. The animals which possess a body cavity, those type of animals are called as a coelomates, and the organisms which possess a false body cavity is called pseudocoelomates, and then absence of a body cavity are called acoelomates. Then we will study about the diploblastic animals and triploblastic animals. Diploblastic and triploblastic. Diplo means two. So here the name, as the name indicating that diploblastic and triploblastic. Diplo means two. Diploblastic means here two germ layers are present. Two germ layers. Two germ layers are present. Those are, one is an ectoderm, and another is an endoderm. Ectoderm and endoderm are the two layers, two germ layers. In between these two germ layers, a cavity present. That one is called as a mesoglia. Mesoglia. Mesoglia is a layer which present in between the ectoderm and endoderm. Right. So now the triploblastic. Triploblastic means there are presence of three germ layers. Three germ layers. Triploblastic. Triploblastic means three. Diploblastic means two. So in diploblastic, presence of two layers, we have named them. One is ectoderm and another is endoderm. In between the ectoderm and endoderm, a layer is present. That layer is called as a mesoglia. This is about the diploblastic. In triploblastic, there is presence of three layers. Those are ectoderm and endoderm mesoderm. Mesoderm. Ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Triploblastic, students. Now we will study about the triploblastic. In triploblastic, presence of 3 layers: ectoderm, outermost layer, and then mesoderm, middle, and then third one is endoderm, innermost layer. This is about the triploblast. In next class we will directly go for the phylums. In next class we will study about the phylum Porifera and its general characters. Okay, students. So once again we just go through your NCERTs. Diploblastic is nothing but a presence of 2 layers, and triploblastic is nothing but a presence of 3 layers. In diploblastic, ectoderm and endoderms are the 2 layers. In between those 2 layers, a mesoglia is present, and but here triploblastic, a mesoderm layer is presence of 3 layers. Okay. So in next class we will study about the phylum Porifera.